always say, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? I've been coming to these meetings now for 7 years. I've been doing it ever since the Tea Party started. I've been frustrated, angry. I want something genuine that I can hang my hat on. How can I change the dynamic? What can I do? Lowly, me, sitting in my wherever, house, apartment, community, what can I do about it? That's Stevenot is going to tell you right now. This has been on my program many times, and this is a movement that must gain national traction. To Matt Kibbe, I encourage you to speak regularly on this topic to everyone on a national forum. I encourage you. And encourage all of you to consider this. The idea of running for Central Committee. That's what it's all about. Central Committee is the power of the people. It is being a part of the decision-making process. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who knows about Central Committee, a man who preaches it, talks about it, and knows and recognizes it is the way for us, the core here that cares so much to spend an evening night listening to speakers, it's how you change fundamentally the dynamic. Ted.
It's been a year since I spoke to you. We did this tax day rally last year. And since that time, we had a primary in Ohio, right? How many of you voted in the primary? Okay, okay. Round of applause for that? No? In Ohio last year, fewer than 1 in 5 registered voters bothered to vote in the primary. Okay? This is something that is a real opportunity for us. It's a huge issue. It relates to doing things that make a difference, things that will be effective in changing the course of our nation, things that we can do that are more meaningful to get better quality candidates elected. So to put all the pieces of this puzzle together, you're familiar with Congress's approval rating right now. Anybody want to guess? 5? A little higher than that. It's about 10 to 12, depending on what poll you look at. In Ohio last year, in spite of a 12% approval rating, how many of our congresspeople did we re-elect? How many incumbents in Ohio, of the 16 that we had, were sent back to D.C.? Any idea? All of them, because you guys, you know the answers. All of them were re-elected, in spite of this approval rating. The average spread on Election Day in November in 2014 for our congressional representatives in Ohio was 36.5 points. Okay? Now, you've all heard the phrase, remember in November. Well, if the spread on the average is 36.5 points, is that an effective strategy? To let them know at the ballot box in November how you feel. Okay, if you're unhappy with, let's say, a Republican representative and you decide, well, I'm going to let them know at the ballot box by voting for the Democrat, is that going to bring you the outcome you want? Okay, so people are frustrated with this. On the chart here, on the wall I want to show you, this is Claremont County's registered voters and some statistics about the primary last year. The number on the far right is 132,966. Okay. That's the total number of registered voters in Claremont County, which is just east of here. The next number, 17,245, is the number of people from that group that bothered to vote in the primary in May of last year. Okay? Claremont County is a very Republican county. A Democrat hasn't won a partisan race in our county for over 20 years. Okay? So, like that, okay. The Claremont County guy over there, clap. You can make a parallel. 80% of congressional districts are controlled by one or the other of the major parties. So, in sort of a microcosm, our county is like one of those districts, right? Be it Democrat or Republican. So in our county, the other party never wins. So what does that mean? When are decisions made? And 3,500, 4,000 of those were Democrats. They showed up to vote, and who knows what they were doing. Making themselves feel good. 12,000 and change were the Republicans who bothered to show up. A majority, to win the majority of the Republican vote is the next number, which is 6,421. So, in essence, 6,421 people made the decision for 132,000 people. You guys see that? Okay, does that seem fair to you? That seem representative to you? Just asking, okay? Now let's look at the next piece of the puzzle. In Claremont County, we have 166 precincts, okay? Every precinct has the opportunity to elect one person to serve on what's called the Party Central Committee. Many of you are familiar with this, correct? Okay. So 166 people have the opportunity to serve on this committee. The 100 number is kind of an average out. Actually, in Claremont County, if you get 60% of the vote from the Central Committee for something called endorsement, right? Familiar with this concept? Then your name gets put on this mechanism called the sample ballot, which we'll show a picture of in a minute. But what that 100 number does is those people vote, they meet candidates, they get together. In fact, last night we had an endorsement meeting of the Republican Central Committee in Claremont County. And we had endorsement votes for a clerk of courts and 2 municipal judges. That 100 people, okay, represents the number of votes needed to win an endorsement, okay? If a candidate wins the endorsement, they get their name put on the sample ballot. You have a picture of a sample ballot? Looks like that. How many of you have ever been handed a sample ballot on the way into the polls? Or had one mailed to you? Or got one off a website? Okay? All of the above. Now, you win endorsement and you get your name on that ballot. 90% plus, okay, of the people who have their name on that ballot win their election. Because go back to the previous screen. So what's happening in essence is those 100 people are telling the 6,421 people who to vote for. And when they do it, they win in the primary. And then they tell 132,000 people what's going to happen. So let's even look at it in more detail. That's 100 people telling 132,000 people who's going to be their representative. You guys see that? I don't know how fair does it seem now? I don't know. Okay? It is a representative system because the one person from the precinct who serves on Central Committee represents the voters in that precinct. It's much like our greater system of government. A healthy system would have representatives that actually represented the voters in their precincts. So let's go to the next screen. Actually, even one after that. This is a picture of the meeting last night. This is a meeting that was held, no press, no TV, no newspapers, nobody even knows it's happening. Remember the old smoke-filled room? Well, before the citizens got involved with this, in Claremont County last year in May, there's a guy here, picture your hand, Larry. This is Larry Heller, and Rick Harrod's back there. These two guys worked really hard to get regular citizens to run for Central Committee so that they could be in that room. And when the votes for the candidates come, and they say, who do you think should be the next judge? Who do you think should be the next representative to Columbus? Who do you think should be the next county commissioner? Who do you think should be the next prosecutor? Regular citizens, just like you, are the ones casting the votes to decide who will be on the sample ballot. Make sense? Okay? Before the citizens got involved, in most places across the state and in the country, the people who serve on Central Committee are employees of the county clerk's office. They're employees of the prosecutor's office. They're government officials. They're friends and relatives of politicians. They're crony insiders. They're people who are architects for the county, who sell insurance to the county, who have conflicts of interest coming out their ears. Okay? And they are making the decision who's going to be elected, who's going to get their name on that sample ballot, and who's going to win in the primary, and who's going to win in the general. Okay? I would submit to you, if regular citizens who get involved for the sole reason that they love their country, that they're tired of spending money that we don't have, that they would like to see the Constitution remain our rule book, okay? That they support free enterprise, free markets, so that people can have prosperity and jobs, rather than crony insiders who want to keep their ant in Congress. We will change the course of our nation. Now, I gotta tell you, I am so sick and tired of begging. Okay? I know a lot of people work really hard on this stuff and it has an effective level. Call your congressman, write a letter to the editor, attend a rally, wave a flag, call talk radio, listen to talk radio. On and on and on, the time we spend on things that don't make a difference.
Right.
Taking back the party makes a difference. This picture is Nancy Pelosi with that damn gavel walking through a maelstrom of don't tread on me flags, chartered buses, people who had called, rallied, gotten together and said, you're not going to do this to us. She took that gavel and said, the hell, I'm not going to do that to you. As long as we focus on issues and flag waving and ineffective things, I don't think it looks too good for us, folks. There are 300,000 precincts in the United States. It takes 150,000 people to step up and take the party back. Ohio has 9,200 precincts. We're talking, and really, a third of those precincts, nobody even bothers to file. I'll pick up talk radio a little bit. In 2000, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh. Or excuse me, 1990. It wasn't until 2009 that Rick Herron, who's not even listening to me, he's talking to him. Rick Herron told us about Central Committee. I was blown away. Okay? We got involved. The reason I'm wearing this t-shirt tonight, this is our first major victory from Central Committee. This guy, Vince Ferris, he ran against a 6-term incumbent prosecutor in Claremont County. One of the toughest nails, money spent, hardball, politic campaigns you could possibly imagine. But Vince, we got to know Vince. We got behind Vince. And when the endorsement meeting came in 2012, Vince was the one who got endorsed, not the incumbent. Vince's name was on the endorsement card. And we worked our butts off. I mean, you can't imagine. All I was thinking about the primary night in 2012 was this race. I mean, this was it. And it was one of these nights where the machines weren't working and they delayed the results. It was just like, it was excruciating. And finally, we heard the answer, and Vince won. And it was just like, whoa, this is great. Like, it was just, but the other race we hadn't heard about, which was another race we were fighting in, really, kind of on an ancillary basis, which was the congressional race. And you guys all remember Gene Schmidt, right? Well, that very same night, because really the work we did in this fight, Gene lost in Claremont County, her home county, by 9 percentage points. Okay? For that race, her opponent was not endorsed. But we did what's called, we broke her endorsement. So her name wasn't on the sample ballot, but neither was her opponent's. So it was more of a fair fight, I guess you could say, or a foot race between those two. But then the main of this whole thing is that we hear a lot about the principles and the usurpations and the things that make us mad. We can retool on liberty. We can understand how things are out of whack and how we'd like to have them straightened out. And I would invite you to seek methods that make a difference, that can make more of an impact. I mean, since I've been doing this liberty thing for 6 years, we collected signatures for healthcare, we knocked on doors, we've worked elections, we've done so many things. If I looked at all of it, and I said, what was the one thing that we did for the amount of work we put into it that had the most impact? And the answer is Central Committee. I mean, without a doubt. So, I invite you to get involved. There's a website called Ohio Precinct Project that's working to develop people to run for Central Committee from now through the future. In Hamilton County, there isn't a race this primary. It's a 4-year term. But even if you don't have a race this time, get to know the people in your precinct and be thinking about this for the next battle. Because the citizens need to take the parties back, and if it's to be, it's up to you guys. Okay?